I'll use a mic.
Yeah, this one's fine. It's for both of us.
It's not on.
Yeah, it's fine, Deb. You don't need the mic. Glad this is being recorded. Anyway, receiving generosity. I kind of renamed that earlier tonight. This message is about receiving generosity. We're good at giving generosity. Well, some are. Some are really good at it, and everybody's good at it to a certain degree. There's certain areas that we're all generous. That's just the way we are. Some have a larger brush, some have a smaller brush, but there's always a generosity. But what happens when you receive God's generosity in your life? Deb and I want to talk about that tonight. We just experienced 2 weeks of it. I mean, there's no other way to describe it other than receiving generosity. So we're going to start with Deb. She has something to ask you.
So when I spoke a couple of weeks ago about words and the power of words and how we have the power of God within us. And when we speak out words, there's power in our words. And whether we are saying them in a negative way or whether we're saying them in a positive way, our words will have a great effect on our life and on the people around us. And so there was a rabbit, and I think it Winnie the Pooh, and he said, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And so I left it off where we were going to kind of, for the next 2 weeks, kind of keep account of what we said, and if we didn't have anything nice to say, we were going to not say anything. And I was going to come back and kind of ask you guys what your experience was this past 2 weeks. And did you catch yourself in your words? Did you see a change in people maybe around you because your words were built people up instead of bringing them down? Does anybody have a testimony?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah, I did what was asked. It was gnarly because I read what was sent to me, and I don't know how to explain it, but just things was coming to me, like that young lady, Angel, recent, 3 days ago, she tried to kill herself, so she needs to be prayed for. And then her boyfriend lost someone in his family, so they're just, and they're arguing, fighting each other. So. But I see God's trying to wake me up with all my stuff that I had in my past to work with people that are going through the same thing, for me to be positive, and I wasn't, like doing name calling or judging. I read the Jesus Calling, and it said that today about judging, and I was like, it's really weird because those 2 weeks I went through just not attacking like I was.
So you were watching your words. You were more aware of them.
Yeah.
And then you can see how it affects people.
Yeah, and then I put my foot down with my son and, his girlfriend. I was like, wow, this is cool. And God seriously has been there, and I doubted him. I keep doubting him. I do believe him, but,
Yeah, he's always there with us. Do we want to receive it?
Yes.
We can fight it, we can argue it, things he's always with us. He's always got his hand upon us. There's some in here, I've had conversations with a few, it's just incredible. They recognize him in the midst of the trial, in the midst of what we can call a storm, but he is always with us. It's just incredible.
Anybody else?
Any other word testimonies?
I know I was careful. Were you careful?
No, but I was contracting.
No, he was good. He was good.
I was
He did a great job.
It was it was a challenge. Believe me, it was a challenge. But here's the beauty of it for the whole time, and I think it's her words. They speak life to me. Watching my words, even when you fail and trip over your words, when you recognize it, it improves. It grows. You don't get caught in the trap of saying stupid things. You start to say positive things. You learn that when you want to speak well about other people and to other people, God will give you words to speak to them that they can receive. Talk to a doctor like he's on the school ground, he won't listen to you. Talk to a contractor like he's in a Catholic church, he won't hear you. However, you can say words of life, words from God, to a contractor. I experienced it for 2 weeks, that they really hear you, and yet you're giving them the positive words of life in a way that they can receive. So just want to
And
encourage
sometimes
you with
when
that.
you got a tough situation that you have to talk to somebody about it, sometimes when you just say, I love you, but these are some things that we have to talk about. And making people face situations, but doing it from a place where you're first building them up and you're first loving on them. And then their hearts can receive what you have to say.
Right.
Because they know it's coming from a place of love, not from a place of condemnation or judgment.
Right.
So, well, good.
So that's living a life of generosity. And I'm telling you, when you live this type of life, you're going to receive it. We want to share tonight a little bit. I have a proverb I want to share with you. It's Proverbs 11:24 and 25. One person gives freely, yet gains even more. Another withholds unduly, but comes to poverty. A generous person will prosper. This is what I really want you to hear. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. We're always holding on to generosity with a dollar sign, and it is part of it, but not always. The real part of generosity is refreshing. If you're a generous person, you will prosper. If you're refreshing others, you will be refreshed. See, living a generous life is more than just money. It's a lot of work. Yet it is so refreshing. We went to Canada. This is my wife's house that she grew up in. We have any pictures, Abel? This is the house she grew up in. She spoke about this a year ago or so, showed some pictures. But this is an amazing home, 100 and some odd years old, gardens. It's a beautiful home. Trash. That was part of what we did. We have pictures of the ditch I wasn't going to jackhammer. This is a shed out back. You can see by looking at this a little bit some of the beauty of this home. The attraction that my wife has to this home. She doesn't want to give up this home.
Wow.
But in order to hold on to this home, there's a lot of things that have to happen. Is that the lake that? Yeah, it's just, this is the road that goes up the back of it.
What's that?
And you're here.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, in 3 months, there'll be 3 feet of snow, so.
yeah.
It's Quebec, Canada, so it's still very cold. But see, this, just turn it back, Abel, turn it back to the one with just the front of the house. Just bring it back to the front of the house.
There should be more pictures.
Anyway, so this home, see what happens with this home is when what happened? Did it just die?
I don't know.
I might have just ran out of power. Maybe I'm gonna need power first. Go ahead and talk.
So, we got up to the, we got there on Wednesday morning, we got in, and we walked around. I tell you, it was very overwhelming when we first got there. The place,
Does anybody
my stepdad lives there. And so he's been living there and doing the best he can to take care of it. But, you know, we basically went there so that we could get it ready so that I could rent out another room so that we could afford to have this house. It has to generate some income to pay for itself. And so we walked around, and I could see fear in his eyes, you know, because it was just like, oh my gosh, how are we going to do all this in 2 weeks? Because we had a whole long list of stuff we wanted to do and what we needed to do. And we just walked around. He just shook his head. He was like, there was definitely a real concern on his face.
You talking about me?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, he was overwhelmed.
It was overwhelming. We spent 2 days. You saw the trailer. 2 days just loading out stuff that had to be gotten rid of.
Just
the basement,
tearing stuff out.
her mother, and this is one of the first things the Lord showed me. There was no question that if we can do to the house the way Mom took care of the gardens, we're going to be successful. And so it kind of gave me a jump. Corinne was a dear, sweet woman. She was a garden nut. That's all she did. The basement was musty and moldy and damp and dank because in the wintertime, it was her gardening place. She had all these grow lights and dirt and water, and it just slopped in the corner. She just didn't care because she did plants. The
whole basement in the winter was full of plants.
And all she cared about was her garden. And if something broke in the house, she tried to find somebody that maybe could put a Band-Aid on it. And oh my gosh, the Band-Aids that we dealt with. Thankfully, her brother and I, we just pulled the Band-Aids off. But
you have more pictures? You should have a lot more.
But the point is when I felt the Lord said that to me, I told that to her, and it just, everything shifted. That's her brother and sister.
These are my siblings. This is a lake.
This is the view.
Can we stop there for a minute?
This is the front bedroom that we kind of put back together. This is the bedroom where they had that movie that she talked about before, where the movie was done. Well, and since that time, her mom tried to have it fixed up a bit, but her mom is also a collector. Some would call it a hoarder.
That's my original bed that I slept in when I was a kid.
One of the things we were able to do over the last trip and this trip is we've restored this bedroom almost we still need to oil the walls, and there's a little bit of the floor that needs to be painted because we tore out this thing, but it's so pretty in this room. And see if we have the picture of the other bedroom.
No, we don't.
We don't. Never mind, it's not that good. No, I'm just kidding. That one turned out really well as well. But see, it gave me life. It gave me life. And then this is what happened. And this is the part I want you to hear. This is where generosity is. Generosity is a lot of work. Generosity is very hard. But then I looked in my wife's eyes, and I saw this incredible joy that she had because her house is coming to life. This house has got character, people. I'm telling you. This thing's incredible. In the basement now, what we've been able to start, because it's merely a start, is going to have that same, it'll be a different personality, but it has a personality. When you're in this house just reeks of personality. It's been in the family forever. It's had a very strong Christian influence. Her stepdad is as quirky as can be, but I'm telling you, this guy would go in his bedroom for hours and pray in the Spirit. That's all he really does. And he likes to play in the garden, but he prays in the Spirit. And you can sense this. See, there's a generosity that you receive back from God. He fills these things. And when I could see my wife, the joy that she had, it spurred me on. It spurred me on to do. And there's a few things we wanted to share. See, the house has to be fixed in order for us to be able to keep it. It has to be. And it's getting there. But one thing I want you to know is don't kid yourself. Generosity can be tough on the body. It can be very tough on your body.
He would walk like this.
And I'm serious.
Up the stairs, because there was 2 steps of stairs.
There's 2 flights of stairs, or basement and second story. It's just like, oh my God, I hate stairs. I've been on my knees all my life, 38 years laying flooring. Doing stairs is just brutal. And yet, I look at my thing, 19 floors this day, 18 floors that day, walk 5 miles a day. But I saw the joy in my wife's face, and it brought me tremendous joy. But there's a few things that God had his hand on that we want to share.
And before we get to those, we're nobody special. We want to make sure that you guys know that whatever God does for us, he can do for you. This is just an example for you guys to take and say, I'm going to believe God for this too. This is only to build your faith and have you guys increase your dreaming and your eyes to see what God has out there for you.
This is years in the making.
So this just didn't happen. This is not, it's definitely from me, but I believe God's put this in my heart. And so this is just a testimony for you to go, wow, I'm going to believe like that too. Okay?
So
these are really cool.
We get there. And the first day we get there, her brother, Robin, you saw a picture of him, show up, and he hands us $10,000. It's like, dude, this is awesome.
Cash.
I got all these hundreds to put in my pocket. She had loaned him some money from the estate. There's very little money left, but Debbie loaned basically her money from the estate that was left, all but $5,000, to him so he could buy this Mercedes work truck. Just an incredible work van he's got. And so we just figured it'd come out, and when the house finally closed and all the exchange, he just get. No, he goes, no, here, he goes, that's separate. Here's 10 grand. So now we have money to work on the house. It was just amazing. It just took the pressure off. Because, I took up some money, but we're going to have to do the exchange and do this and that. But he has us all this money. It's just like, well, Lord, you're making this easy. Really easy. Because now you can, because when you just pull out the plastic, you kind of can forget what you're spending. And yet this was just the way we started this whole trip. It was incredible. I did say to him 2 days before he left, I go, so when I come back, you're going to hand me another 10 grand, right? Every time I come to visit.
And so I don't know if you remember, but I had said that the company that was the whole reason we were going there was to install a new septic tank that was needed, it's been needing it for 20, 25 years. And so you had limited showers, limited everything in this house for all this long. And so that one company said they won't do it for us. And so my brother was able to find another company to do it. And I told you about how the tractors were going to come over and get left. And then my stepdad said, no, you can't leave it. And he left. The guy left in a huff, and we didn't know when he was going to even come back and do the work. And so I was in a tizzy. I was angry. I was not happy about all this. But underneath it, the Lord had a better plan. And the guy actually came on the date that I'd wanted the work to be done. And for 5 days, we were able to sit in the back and enjoy the view and not have, because when the tractors came, it was loud and noisy and they were tearing up everything. But I was able to sit in the back, read my Bible, pray, just enjoy that beautiful green backyard. And God knew that was like a little gift. It could have just been all torn up if the septic had been done on the other timing. So to me, that was a little gift from the Lord.
And then another thing, in Canada, you have very limited time as a contractor to work outside. You got maybe 6 months. There's times you can work in the wintertime outside, if it isn't blowing and snowing and stuff, but it's very, very challenging. This is Robin. He is a couple years younger than us, so he's been contracting forever. I'm telling you what, if you ever needed a contractor, this is the guy you would want. He knows a little bit about everything, and he is incredible. Robin put aside all his jobs. He's got people lined up, and he came and worked. He's got every tool known to man. He's got more tools than I got. It's incredible. So he brings all his tools. It took an hour just to bring his tools into the house, all the tools we had. But he has all this knowledge, and he laid everything aside for about 8 days, and he came and worked, and he just said, you know what, just pay me whatever you want, whenever you want. I mean, so we haven't paid him, and you know, and Robin knows that, you know, I'm not doing this for free, but he was supposed to keep track. But we had such a good time. The presence of God was in our conversation, was in our contracting, was in everything that we did, that he just kind of let it go. And it's just like, that's so unlike him. He works really hard, very talented. Again, God's provision on it. I told him 10 times, if I told him once, couldn't have done without you, with all his tools, his knowledge, the stuff that we did in the basement to prepare this house for the next phase. So again, the generosity of God was on full display with her brother.
Now, I don't know if any of you guys know, but I have a real, what would you call it? Close to a phobia about mice.
More than a phobia.
Mice, rats, anything like that. And so this house had some mice and rats in it. I didn't know it did, but before I left, I realized, well, let me go backwards. My sister called me one day and she said, Debbie, there's a cat that's ended up on my door and I can't keep it. And Jerry, my stepdad, loves cats. Can I give you this cat for the house? And I said, yeah, sure. So I found out before I left that God knew there was mice and rats and everything in that house, and he sent that cat to my sister's house, and she sent it to our house, and he killed all kinds of mice and rats before I got there. Isn't that cool? Yeah. And that was just, I mean, it was just, I found that out just before I left, and I went, wow, God, you care about that? You care about me that much, and you know my heart, and you know even the fear of that. And cat killed all kinds of mice.
And this was an abandoned and abused cat too. So now this cat has a life.
It's a killer cat, I tell you.
Jerry loves this cat.
It is a killer cat.
This cat is a cement head. I'll tell you what. And it looks like the Joker. It has the Joker smile in its fur.
Yeah,
it's the funniest looking cat. But I mean, and it's just, this cat has a new lease on life. It's now keeping the house clean. You saw all the plants and stuff. Yeah. You're going to get varmints there. So God brought a cat, a perfect cat. Also, Debbie's got a lot of family up there. There's a second cousin. He's a plumber. And called him up and this and that. And she had talked to him before because what we were doing in the basement was a lot of plumbing. He stops by and just asking some questions. This is what I promised myself, there's no way I'm jackhammering. I'm not doing it. I'm just going to get one of those toilets that have the little box in the back that flush up. Well, he came by, what's his name? Leaf. Leaf came by and we're talking. And he goes, no, you don't want to do that. He goes, let me get you, I'll get you a Liberty pump. So he gets me this 2 foot by 2 foot deep. So that little hole there is 2 foot by 2 foot deep. We got a pump that pumps up, does everything we want, put in the drain for the shower and all that. The toilet I was going to buy without any work was going to be $1,200. This Liberty pump I got for $450, and it's 10 times the product. It's repairable. It's just, again, God's hand upon it. He came over and just sold it to us at what he got it for. Wow. I mean, it's just, again, why would people do that? This is God showing us generosity. We received God's generosity. This is available for everyone to receive his generosity in the most unlikeliest things. A beautiful way to receive generosity is tell everyone what you're not going to do. I'm not going to do that. By the way, that last path, that hole was there. That was a sump or a pump that didn't work. We had to make it much, much bigger. But right when I got to the very end, Robin showed up. He got back with Debbie from buying stuff. I go, yeah, it's safe to come in now. The jackhammering is done, So he left.
Can I ask? It's all direct current there, isn't it?
What?
Is there electricity?
No, it's 110.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, they have 110 and 220. Yeah, they have normal current like what we have here. But again, God's hand upon it, this ability for us to do things that we couldn't otherwise do, but God directed our steps. Even though I had put up a boundary, we're not doing it this way. There you go.
So we had time with family, which was really nice. Can you show the pictures of the family smiling, the food that we had? Did you get those? Yeah, that's a breakfast. That's a Quebec breakfast there.
That's without the bread, though.
There's Brad. It was raining. We said when it rained, we were going to dance in the rain because it never rains around here. This is Brad trying to read a French menu.
Boy, he's scary. Old man.
So it was a really amazing experience because everything just fell into place. There was hard work involved, but there was no effort in making things happen. It just flowed together. It was amazing. It was just, we were tired, we were aching from head to toe, but everything just flowed. It was just amazing. It was just amazing. Because in life, it doesn't always happen like that. But with this particular situation, it was like everything just flowed through. What we needed was there. We had to buy some refrigerator and a oven because they didn't work. And being able to get it for the price that we could afford. And we had so much to get done in the last 2 days. And everything just happened, and it was just everything that we wanted to get done got done.
Wow, great.
And it was in a miraculous way. But it was still hard work, but it was still miraculous. And we didn't worry or have, that we talk about rest. Rest can be a lot of work, but the rest is in your heart. It's where you're not concerned about everything. You're just allowing God to go through and do what he's going to do.
And then we had one more thing that we kind of forgot about. And I didn't even really realize it. But after they put in the septic, the picture of me out in the rain was when they were still working. So they hadn't covered it up yet. But once they covered it up, then we paid to have them bring it. They take away the old dirt, which is full of roots and just rocks. There's a lot of rocks there. And then they bring this nice clean dirt to throw on top. And then they pack it down and whatnot. But I didn't really realize, but you got to plant grass seed, right? I mean, I'm thinking winter's coming, what's the big deal? And they go, well, if you don't plant grass seed, weeds will grow. That's the problem. Not so much that the grass is going to grow, but you want to get the grass in now so it takes root and blah, blah, blah. So you're not full of weeds. And I thought, oh, man. And it's supposed to rain. Every day it's supposed to rain. And it quits. It's not raining. It's not raining. It's not raining. And then on the very last day we're there, we go to the Hudson Hardware, which is the local one. We were going to go to a feed store to get the seed because they had a better deal. We go into the Hudson Hardware, and for whatever reason, they had a better price on the seed. Got the seed, took it home, cast it out because it's a big, huge area. An hour after we casted the seed, it rained, and it rained all night.
And it stayed.
And it just settled it in. It watered the seed. It's just the crazy. And those things, I just say, Lord, you're just too much. Because it wasn't, had I done it on my own, it should have been, okay, there's all, gotta go get some seed right now. Well, we just didn't because there was another thing that was just happening. We were just allowing God to unfold our day. And see, that can happen for you too. And it does happen for you. And I know you experience it, but you can experience it more. We had these 2 weeks to experience that was unbelievable. So I have a question, or actually Debbie is going to talk about generosity being faith in action.
So let me just take a break and give you an update from Christina because her email just came through, or text. Jaime, he's in post-op now. They put some pins in his left ankle, and he's doing good. His back injury will need to heal on its own, staying overnight tonight and possibly tomorrow night. So that's good. So we've talked as a church. Our theme for this year is generosity. We want to be known as a generous church. We want to be a corporate group, a body of believers that is known for our generosity. Generosity with each other within the church. Brad is an example of generosity when he cooks every Thursday for us. He wants to be that example so that it spurs us on to want to be generous too. We want to be known outside the doors as a generous body of believers because Jesus has been so generous to us. And generosity is faith in action. Generosity is not just a word, it's an action word. You're actually doing something. And I believe that during these last 2 weeks, there was a lot of generosity happening here with people cooking and cleaning and coming early and staying late and helping with the kids and speaking. People that wouldn't ordinarily want to get up here were willing to step out with an attitude of generosity to give back to you guys when they spoke. And so we want that to keep going because I'm sure that it helps you to get to know each other. It makes us more like a family when we're stepping out and doing things that we wouldn't ordinarily do unless there was a need there. And so we're going to talk more about this, but I want to encourage you to step out in faith and be generous with your time. Be generous with your finances. Be generous with your words to people, to speak words of encouragement. As you give and you step out in faith, what does God say about that? Faith pleases God. And so we want to please the Lord. We want to bring him glory and honor. And so I want us to just encourage us to step out in faith and do things that take faith to do it. You know, if you're familiar with doing something and it's easy for you, you don't really need much faith. So I encourage you to get out of your comfort zone, step out in faith, and do stuff you wouldn't ordinarily do.
And tonight, who do you have in your life that you want to see smile? Somebody that's near and dear to you, and you really want to see them smile. You want them to have joy. You know, that inside-out type of smile. The thing that bubbles up, but they're muddling through life, and every time you try to do something, nothing works. You're trying maybe a little too hard. Allow yourself to stop all your effort and focus on the Lord's people. I'm telling you, focus on the Lord's people. This trip to Canada, I was focused on the Lord's people around there, and all this work happened. I mean, I did a lot of work. It was nuts. We slept in separate bedrooms because it was painful and the beds were too small anyhow and uncomfortable. But when sleeping, because you turn over and then you're going to flip the other person around. Sleeping in your own bed, at least you could get a couple hours here, a couple hours there.
Yeah,
we were restless, but it was like that. But we were focused on other people. We weren't focused on each other. And all this stuff happened. I'm telling you, it was crazy what happened. We commented about it time and time and time again. From the septic system, which was a better system for less money, done perfectly. I mean, done flawlessly, incredibly. Having Rob with us, doing work that we had to redo all the plumbing inside. It was all done. Everything downstairs was done wrong. If we had to touch it, we had to remove it. And we had to redo it. All the sewer from where it came into the basement had to all be redone. I mean, we redid all the plumbing downstairs. Everything had to be redone. But it just happened. I was focused on these people, and this stuff happened. It was crazy. It's just crazy how that works. As you allow him to guide you, you will be amazed at what he will do for you. He knows this person that you want to see smile. He wants to see him smile too. Maybe you're stopping him from smiling because you're trying too hard. Get involved with the Lord's people. What is God showing you? We have a holiday season coming up. It's a wonderful time. Last year we touched on doing good works. I believe this year we can do great works, great things in the community, make a huge impact on people. And yes, I'm not saying these works aren't to get us saved. These works are to show us why we're here, to give us a purpose, to refresh us. Because I believe God has a plan. I believe that with all my heart. And maybe it starts in the most unlikely place. With me, it was the jackhammer. I'm telling you, I showed up. It was 2 days tearing out trash. And then the jackhammer. I'm just thinking, this is ridiculous. I'm doing everything I don't want to do. But God's hand, it starts in the most unlikely places. It just does. So often, whatever God is going to do in your life starts in the most unlikely place. Maybe he wants you to be refreshed. And what did we read tonight? That's by refreshing others. It's the way it works. It's not the only way it works, but it's the way it works. It is a scriptural base. I wanted to share something out of Philemon. Then we'll do communion. We went a little long. She talks too much. I pray that your partnership with us in the faith may be effective in deepening your understanding of every good thing we share for the sake of Christ. Your love has given me great joy and encouragement because you, brother, have refreshed the hearts of the Lord's people. This is Paul writing to Philemon. This is a powerful, powerful statement when you read this. Pray that your partnership with us in the faith, as we partner together, as you show love to God's people, they're refreshed. You're refreshed. This life can be hard. This life can be challenging. I can't even get a stupid truck refinanced. I mean, it's just the most stupidest thing on the planet. It's just, I've connected myself with the wrong refinance company, obviously. But you know, when you refresh others, you'll be refreshed. And your life will have such incredible purpose. Tonight, we're going to share communion. I want us to remember Christ's generosity with us by giving up his life for us. See, that's why we're generous, right? Christ was first generous with us. His reward today is each one of you sitting here. You wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Jesus' sacrifice. You wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be in this assembly. You wouldn't be here listening to our stories. These are words to encourage. Rich, you can pass that out. Thanks. These are words that just encourage. We're just sharing with you a journey that we're on. We've come home and there's new challenges, more challenges. We're tired. We're worn out. I'm going up to Bakersfield tomorrow. Party in Bakersfield. Because I'm looking into something that I'm hoping that this church can be involved with. That's a real positive way of helping people. But it's just simply wanting to be generous. Lord, I don't have any money. How can I be generous? Oh, man. This isn't about the money thing. This is about a spirit of generosity. As we prepare for communion, 2 Corinthians 8, verse 9 states, "For you know the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, that though he was rich, yet for your sake he became poor, so that you, through his poverty, might become rich. Think about that. The creator of the universe, the Lord of all, laid it all down so we could be rich. And this isn't a thing, we're not talking money here. There's all different financial aspects in this little room, outside these walls. There's all different, this isn't the richness that he's talking about. His poverty is so we can be rich in him. We can have hope. Life gets tough. It seems unfair. Because it does sometimes. Sometimes it's tough. Sometimes it seems unfair. But see, through his poverty, through his hanging on the cross, through his death that he didn't deserve, but he so willingly gave us, that makes us rich. Next time you're challenged, and we all are challenged, every day we get challenged, grab this piece of bread right now and remember this next time you're challenged, that he became poor so your life will have incredible purpose. Ask the Lord, Lord, what is it you would have me to do? Let me walk through this life being directed by you, moment by moment, day by day. Make plans. Making plans is good. Don't make those plans be set in stone. Watch what he'll do when you know that he's moving on your heart. Let's partake. Thank you, Jesus. After the meal, you had the cup. He said, this is the new covenant in my blood. Do this in remembrance of me. This we do as we remember Christ. He became poor so we could be rich. This simple act of remembering him is not simple at all. This was so important. He gave directions. He wants us to do this. Why does he want? Because he wants you to know how rich you are. How rich you are. You're rich in him. Want more of him. Get more of him. Receive more of him. Allow more of him into you. Be willing to go and lay down. The joy I saw in my wife with what we were doing. Both working like dogs, but the joy, the happiness that she felt being in this home, watching it come to life. It's just tremendous. It brought me great joy. Let's partake. Father, I thank you. Thank you for the cross. I thank you for spilt blood. Poured out. Not just spilt, but it poured out for me. Lord, you held nothing back. I pray that we can learn to not hold anything back. Moment by moment, day by day. And then when we come to the end where our bodies are beat, you'll take us away, just like Jesus was taken away to the mountaintop to be refreshed in your presence, but to come back down and to keep going. There's so much that you have for us, Lord. I pray that we don't miss out on it, what you have for us. I pray that we're willing to say, there is no way I'm jackhammering cement, and then go and rent the biggest jackhammer I could find. Because, Lord, I knew you wanted this to be done this way. You sent people. You directed their steps. They laid it out. He gave me free advice. This advice would cost hundreds of dollars easily. It would have cost thousands of dollars to hire him. And yet, Lord, you gave it to us so we would do it in a way that it was right and perfect and without flaw. God, you're too much. I want people to understand that this story is a story of God's goodness for all of us. This is our example in the last 2 weeks. What's your example? Father, touch these guys. Draw them to the foot of the cross. May they take their plans and just say, Lord, this is my plan, but what's your plan for me? What are you going to do for me, Lord? How are you going to direct my steps? Be willing to walk into what he shows you. And I'd be willing to bet that that first step is something you said, I won't do. Be willing to do it, I pray in Jesus' name.